These were ballot applications, and now, as they've investigated them, more than half already were determined to be valid. They're continuing to investigate them. I mean, Ann, this to me is the most dangerous stuff that Trump is saying, which is claiming that this particular election is already being stolen.
In this video, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and Ann Coulter engage in a debate on News Nation. Ann Coulter and Cenk Uygur discuss election fraud and, as you'd expect, things get heated. With that, let's watch Ann Coulter do what so many have done before her, make a fool of Cenk Uygur.
They've already started cheating in Lancaster. They've cheated. We caught them with 2,600 votes. No, we caught them cold. 2,600 votes. Think of this. Think of this. And every vote was written by the same person. I wonder how that happened. It must be a coincidence. It must be a coincidence.
Again, not only did he not catch them, right? It was the Pennsylvania officials who came forward. And these aren't votes. These weren't ballots. These were ballot applications. And now, as they've investigated them, more than half already were determined to be valid. They're continuing to investigate them. I mean, Ann, this to me is the most dangerous stuff that Trump is saying, which is claiming that this particular election is already being stolen.
I think, yeah, I think it's stupid. It's politically stupid. It's not going to help him. I basically agree with you, but for the sake of argument, I do have one little point I'd like to make about this, and that is, okay, Trump shouldn't be saying it, but let's say somebody else is saying it. Say I'm saying it. I'm sick of hearing all the time that there is no vote fraud, absolutely no vote fraud. Dan, nobody's looking for the vote fraud. Did you hear about the non-citizen Chinese student at University of Michigan who voted last week? And oh, his vote will count because you can't get it back now. Right. You know how they caught him like they're looking for him? For some reason, he went back the next day and he asked for his ballot back. Yeah. So unless you vote illegally, you're not a citizen, unless you go and ask for the so it's like asking, you know, Confederate sheriffs, are you letting black people vote? Yeah, well, we can't find any vote fraud here. Well, you're not looking. And they're not looking here, so I'm sick of hearing there's no vote fraud. There's a lot of vote fraud. Maybe Trump shouldn't be talking about it.
Rather than me ask the...
I don't know if you guys have heard this as much as I do, but I hear that from Democrats all the time. I just did a video the other day of someone saying that voter fraud doesn't exist. Then I immediately went on YouTube just to confirm. I mean, of course, I know that's crazy, but I was like, is something wrong with me? Am I missing something? So I went onto YouTube and looked up voter fraud caught on camera. And to be honest with you, the most egregious ones were buried. Surprise, surprise. But it wasn't difficult at all to find videos of people committing voter fraud. Like when it comes to the 2020 election, I think voter fraud went on, and I have a number of reasons that I could argue that the election wasn't legitimate. The problem is specific to that election, and I'm just talking about voter fraud, not all the other shady things that went on, but I saw countless videos of people doing shady things like ballot harvesting, changing ballots, or dumping ballots that were for Donald Trump. But I think when Donald Trump tried to challenge all this stuff in court, people are like, he was laughed out of court. He couldn't prove anything. That's not true either. I think there's an enormous burden of proof to actually prove that there was enough voter fraud that it would have changed the outcome of the election. So I think that's a really high hurdle. But to say that voter fraud doesn't exist is just crazy to me, because you see these videos and they add up to a lot of videos, but they're all over the country in different voting precincts. And I just think it was really hard for him to actually prove that there was, that's what I feel like it was. That's a better way of saying it. It was hard to prove that there was enough voter fraud to overturn the election or to recount in some crucial areas. But to say it doesn't happen, it just blows my mind. Especially, didn't they pass a law in California that you don't even need an ID to vote now? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's not that, it's a very lenient system. Anyway, I don't understand how anyone can say this with a straight look on their face. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Well, I'll let Cenk respond. Cenk, go ahead.
Yeah, I was getting worried about all the agreement here. Thank you, Ann, for bringing up something that's wrong. Heritage Foundation, very right-wing think tank, the guys who did Project 2025, looked into voter fraud over a period of, I think, about 20 years. And they did find it. They found 0.00006% of the vote was fraudulent. So, meaning it is totally statistically insignificant. It's the kind of desperate things that losing candidates do. The only upside here, Dan, is that once I started hearing them cry about how the election was rigged, I was like, oh, I guess their internal polling shows that they're about to lose. So that's what a losing candidate does. And you're absolutely right. First of all, they caught it. So what kind of grand scheme is it when you catch all the people who are doing the fraud? So that doesn't make any sense at all. But it's Trump. He doesn't have to make sense. But overall, here's what you're not going to do if you think you're going to crush in this election. Complain that it's rigged.
But Ann, the idea that they aren't looking. I mean, they are absolutely looking. I mean, a lot of these states are actively, they're very proud of the fact, you listen to the former Secretary of State of Arizona, right? He'll tell you that in 2020, he was looking for fraud. He was looking for it again and again, and he couldn't find it. So this notion that they're not looking for it, I don't know.
Well, this is done state by state, and in the state of Michigan, all you need is a utility bill to vote. And I just described a case to you that they did not catch until the guy came back and asked for his ballot back. So it's done state by state. I'm sure they're looking for it in some states, but liberals have really got to stop saying there's no evidence. There's no evidence. No one's looking for it.
Yeah, no, I got to.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
There should be one day to vote, and man, there should be voter ID.
Look, but I agree with you that there should be voter ID. I agree with you that there has been voter fraud, but there's nothing to suggest it's changing any outcomes. There's nothing to suggest that it's overturning any elections. And this is why, when AP went back a year later and looked at every single one of the claims of voter fraud, every one, and they looked at what would happen, what was the prosecution, et cetera. I mean, I had the Secretary of State of Georgia on, again, a Republican, Brad Raffensperger. I said to him, look, AP says you had 64 cases, and he said, well, in the end, it was actually 25. But they all are very familiar with exactly how many. And I just think of all these things, this Liz Cheney nonsense, this nonsense about he was trying to shoot the media. These are just headlines that the left-leaning media wants to focus on because, dictator for a day, all this nonsense that actually doesn't go to anything real. But this is real stuff. Thanks for watching. Go to join.nn.
Yeah, Ann Coulter makes a great point about that, the example that she gave. If they're looking for it, that example seems to be about the easiest one to sniff out, and it wasn't revealed until the guy, for whatever reason, came back and asked for his ballot. And I think it varies state by state on the extent to which they're looking for it. He mentioned something about Arizona on there and how they're actively looking for it. Arizona, if I'm getting it right, it's Arizona and Nevada. If I got it wrong and it's just one of them, I apologize. But actually, forget Arizona. I'll just say Nevada. I think Nevada in the last presidential election took like a week or more to tally all the votes versus a state like Florida. All votes were in, counted, tallied. I want to say it was within a couple hours. See, efficiency like that to me indicates less likelihood of voter fraud. I feel like the longer a state takes, it just leaves more room for shenanigans. Every extra minute that goes by, first of all, people are asking, how could it possibly take you that long to tally votes for a presidential election that you've been planning for forever? And then second of all, what are you doing in all that time? How is this complicated in 2025? I mean, there are third world countries that get their votes counted quicker than Nevada did this time. And again, I feel like, sorry, I keep saying it, but I feel like Arizona was bad too. But really, anyone who can't tally the votes by the end of the day of the election, I think it would be great if there was just some kind of election rule in place, that people agree is fair and reasonable. Hey, by this time, you should have all of your votes tallied. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there'd be tons of legal issues with that too. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think? I mean, I think voter fraud absolutely goes on. I don't know how rampant it is. I don't know if there was enough voter fraud in the 2020 election to overturn it. Before you jump down my throat, though, I absolutely think there were a lot of things that made that an illegitimate election. 81 million votes. We can go down that road. I suppose, that's election interference, voter fraud, whatever you want to call it, but kind of not the way they're talking about, like individuals, hatching a plan in specific precincts. So again, my stance is it goes on, but because they're not looking for it, I don't know how rampant it is. But I do know I've seen plenty of video evidence that it goes on. Anyway, what do you guys think? Is it going on at an insignificant rate, or is it a real problem that needs to be addressed? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.